We're going to talk about the three big risks here. And if you have been scrimping and saving in hopes for a better future, but now you've got to shift from accumulating assets to distribution, and we talked a little bit about that. The FIRE movement says 3 to 4% withdrawal rate from that $1 million, let's say, in your 30s or 40s, and that's got to last you through the rest of retirement. Well, what about the risks that come along with doing that? And the first one we're going to talk about is really more of a reality than a risk, and that's inflation. Prices are going to go up. The historical inflation rate in the United States is right around 3%. So if you use an inflation rate of 3%, which by the way, we're higher than that right now. Many people may know that. We're about 5% year over year right now. But if you just use 3%, take a cup of coffee. If that costs $2 today on the day that you retire in your 30s, well, the effect of a 3% inflation rate would have that same cup of coffee costing about $3.81 in 20 years. That's nearly double the cost. And that's kind of the thought process I think about when I think about how inflation eats away at your buying power is about every 20 years you're going to need twice as much money to buy the same. But if you're retiring in your 30s or 40s, guys, it's going to be more than 20 years you need to think about.
Yeah, you've got more doubling periods. I mean, this goes back to the basic math of the rule of 72. It's normally taught about how to determine how much your money's going to grow in an investment. And you look at that rate of return, you divide whatever the rate of return is into 72, and it tells you how long it's going to take your money to double. Well, the same concept is true when you talk about your costs relative to the inflation rate. So if inflation is 3%, you divide 3 into 72, it'll go in there 24 times. So you've got a 24-year period where your costs are going to double. And again, that's if we just stay at 3%. If we're at a higher rate, they double in a shorter period of time. So, and again, you have more doubling periods here. So for a normal retiree, you're looking at 20 to 30 years maybe on average. If we're looking at 40 to 60 years, depending on when they retire and their longevity, and a doubling period every 24 years, you better have a plan in your FIRE movement here that has dealt with inflation, because Scott, you're right. It's not a risk. It is a reality. It will happen.
Right. And if you're living on 3.5 or 4% withdrawal on your assets,
right,
you're going to have to definitely make sure that your assets are growing at a much higher pace than that to be able to keep up with the inflation. Because if you're living on, let's say, $15,000 now, and that was your magic number, in 24 years, that's 30,000, then 60,000. So we really have to continue to grow our assets, even though we're not putting any more money into it because we quit working.
Even ramen noodles will be expensive 40 years down the road compared to what they are now. Yeah.
Want more content like this delivered to your inbox weekly? Visit fastest4.com to learn more.